I wake to a steady pitter-pattering on my windows. The night is dark as the sun has now set. The only guide left is the full moon, which dimly lights the forest around my home with a yellow tint. As I open my door, the sound of crickets playing their tune fills the air, accompanied by the earthy scent of a fresh rain. With that scent, there's also a hint of something else, something so familiar and yet so distant, like a word on the tip of your tongue. Suddenly, I feel my stomach growl. It's been weeks since I've had a decent meal. And just like that, the scent clicks in my brain. Human. My instincts go mad over the realization that I just made. The dim forest is suddenly perfectly visible through my eyes. I can taste my mouth salivating like a dog at dinner time. There's only one thing on my mind now. Blood. It takes me no more than a couple of minutes to track down the little human which I smelled all the way from my estate. And suddenly, I have eyes on them. I hid behind a thick oak tree, peering out at my prey, sizing them up. They appeared to be injured in some way, and were taking refuge under the forest canopy during this mild storm to avoid getting wet. Judging by their clothing and bags, I'd assume that they were a traveler of sorts. They most likely weren't from around here, which meant no one would notice if they were to go missing. They were the perfect target. As I stood there, getting lost in the thoughts of all the different ways I could go about doing what I needed to do, I realized something. I wasn't just staring at this human, but they were staring back at me. I was almost surprised. I suppose it had been a while since I had tracked down a human myself. My ability to hide may have needed some work, but no matter. They were frozen with fear. We both stared into each other's eyes, wondering who would make the first move. I began to slowly reveal myself, a stick snapping under my shoe, and they took off. I had never seen a human run so fast, but it wasn't fast enough. The speed of a human is nothing compared to that of a vampire. A human's only hope at escaping one of us is by fighting or hiding. But even those methods are futile in most cases. Us vampire are far stronger than humans, so fighting us normally doesn't end well. We also have very strong senses of smell, especially when hunting, so hiding doesn't normally help either. Truthfully, it's unfair. But that's the way the world is. The hunters and the hunted. I stayed on my little human's tail as they ran, the scent coming off their body as they tried their hardest to barely escape my grasp, fearing for their lives. It was truly intoxicating. After running for a while, I pounced. I grabbed the human and pinned them down on the forest floor. The look in their eyes, so sweet, so fearful. I almost wanted to keep them, but I was starved. I needed just a taste. The humans squirmed and they pleaded. It was admirable, looking death in the eyes and continuing to fight back. This human was fun. I decided to loosen my grip ever so slightly, and the human was back on the run. I figured it wouldn't hurt to at least give them a little hope that they might make it out alive. Nothing wrong with toying with your food. After a while of chasing, though, I did get a little tired. So I took them down and pinned them once more, this time going for the bite. As my fangs were about to pierce the human skin, they let out a sharp wait. As impatient as I may have been, I decided to let them say one last thing. They told me to check their bag, and so I did. What I found inside the bag surprised even me. Inside, I found vials of blood, presumably taken from this human. For you, they let out softly. I stood over top of them, frankly confused. The human began to explain that they had traveled through this forest in search of me. They were some sort of monster researcher, and they had heard rumors about a vampire accompanying this forest. I was taken aback by all of this. Humans rarely travel through these parts, and when they do, it's normally an accident. They got lost hiking through the woods, and they became my prey. But this one had searched me out, and had prepared vials and vials of their own blood as an offering to me, enough to last me for at least a full year. The least I could do was hear them out. We went back to my home, where I showed them around. They told me about their studies and asked me some questions. It felt so strange, so unnatural, so human. But I believe I made a friend that day. They're coming again next week for further studies. I know it's simply a research for them, but I'm looking forward to my time with this human.